Being a boxing fan is understanding that for as much as you're going to be satisfied, in some way or another, the sport will even itself out with unique ways to let you down. And a lot of it is because of the dynamics of the sport. It's got this long and storied tradition of being the wild, wild west of sports, and nobody's been able to conquer the sport and form one league, and that's what makes things a lot different for the UFC, which was born out of this vacancy in the relatively young sport of organized MMA. The UFC then became the casual fan's go-to brand for MMA because Dana White and his group basically monopolized the sport. And not only do you control the lion's share of consumers when you become a de facto monopoly, but being a monopoly also means you have a significant control over your labor supply and can control wages accordingly. Now, if a superstar boxer doesn't like what their promoter pays them, well, they can get what they want and they have options to do so. They can choose to go to Golden Boy, Top Rank, Matchroom, and PBC, a huge bidding for whatever money they want, and they don't have to leave the highest level of the sport to go do that, where an MMA fighter might be able to get paid more at Bellator, but good luck reaching a fraction of the audience the UFC does on ESPN. And just know that for a lot of casual fans, a Bellator title holds significantly less weight. And MMA fighters, they know this, so what do? They end up crawling back to bed with the UFC for low pay, which in the midst of a global pandemic is good news for the UFC because it just allows them to maintain their significant edge and stable depth and continuously pump out high-level fights that fans want to see. But that's not to say that there aren't good fights to be made in the sport of boxing, because there are. It's just that a lack of live gate ticket revenue is a steeper obstacle to big-time boxing than it is for big-time UFC. Big-time boxing, the fights are harder to make than they are in MMA, not only because champions typically get paid more, but also because boxing's best fights often require collaboration of rival promoters and networks, which makes it even more expensive. But there are still plenty of in-house mega fights that promoters can make. It just requires everyone signing along, and Vasiliy Lomachenko versus Teofimo Lopez is a perfect recipe. You got two lightweight champions who are both signed to Bob Arum and Top Rank, fighting on ESPN with a chance to crown an undisputed champion in what should be a treat for fans. A non-pay-per-view bout featuring a hungry young lion in Lopez. He's looking to dethrone that pound-for-pound beast that is Lomachenko. Same promoter means this should have been easy to make, right? Well, this is boxing after all, and if it was easy to make, then it wouldn't be boxing. This fight almost fell apart over money. Teofimo and his camp, they were upset about Top Rank and ESPN's initial $1.2 million offer, which was only a 25% cut of the purse. And their argument was that Teofimo might bring 25% of the belts, but he brings more than 25% of the casual viewing interest because he's Lomachenko's best opponent, and he's the American who is doing more to promote the fight. So luckily, Lomachenko told Top Rank he'd be okay with taking a pay cut from his contractual guarantees to put him at around $3.25 million and putting Teofimo's earnings at $1.5 million. So now we can breathe now because we finally have a deal. A fight's happening October 17th in Las Vegas, and if you're a true fight fan, that's two back-to-back Saturdays of great fights. Lomachenko Lopez on the 17th, and then on the 24th, Khabib versus Gaethje in the Octagon, and Gervonta Davis versus Leo Santa Cruz in the ring. It's pretty awesome, man. You know, just with boxing though, boxing has a legendary history and tons of young talent, but too often the best fights are delayed or don't happen at all. And without a video game to decide the winner in these what-if contests, that's how 50-year-olds and YouTubers take over. But Lomachenko versus Lopez on free TV, this is boxing at its best, and I can't wait. Now for Lomachenko, his resume is pretty stacked as is. He's the greatest amateur boxer of all time, 397 amateur fights, only one loss, and the guy he lost to, he ended up beating twice more. He's a two-time Olympic gold medalist who in 12 professional fights became the fastest three-division champion in boxing history. He's already been undisputed at 130 pounds, and now he's got a chance to win every single belt at 135. So this is huge for him. But for Teofimo, I'd argue he's the one who stands to gain the most from this fight. Suffering his first loss to Lomachenko, it can still be a moral victory. You don't have to be undefeated if you dare yourself to fight the best at a young age. And you could just ask Canelo Alvarez. Canelo was in Teofimo's situation as a young champion who dared to take on Floyd Mayweather, and in doing so, he launched his own pay-per-view stardom. And just as Canelo was the younger, bigger, and stronger puncher, challenging the ultimate technician in Mayweather, Teofimo's situation is pretty much the exact same. So will history repeat itself in the form of a boxing lesson, Or will the young lion with a 3-inch reach advantage and that promotional it factor finally seize the moment and beat Lomachenko? Now, I love Lomachenko, but I think boxing is honestly in the best position for the future if Teofimo wins, because the future of boxing lies with the mega fights on the way in between 130 and 147 pounds. Yes, the heavyweight division is back and popping, and it's got the richest tradition, but the best matchups, honestly, that can be made, I'm looking at the future stars under the age of 25 in these smaller weight classes: Gervonta Davis, Ryan Garcia, Devin Haney, Teofimo Lopez, Shakur Stevenson, Virgil Ortiz. And if Teofimo beats Lomachenko on a well-promoted fight on free ESPN, say hello to your next star who crosses over to casual fans. And now I honestly crack up at these diehard fight fans who throw shade at casual fans. Because okay, we get it, you're an expert. But do you realize that your sport elevates to new heights when the casual fans show up for the big fights? Because Wilder Fury 2 showed us exactly that. And because of that fight, there's a rejuvenated interest in the heavyweight boxing division here in America. People want to see Anthony Joshua versus Tyson Fury, but not everybody has enough time in their day to understand that before Joshua can face Fury, he's got to beat a 39-year-old Bulgarian who probably isn't worthy of the competition just to keep one of his belts. And that's one of the problems with boxing. There should really only be one champion per division, but instead, you got 4 sanctioning bodies, and you think that would mean 4 champions per division, but no, sometimes you got super champions, regular champions, interim champions, franchise champions. Everybody's a champion nowadays. Everyone gets a trophy. It's this new generation. There should really only be 8 weight classes, but instead we've got 17, and some divisions only differ by 4 pounds. I'm a diehard boxing fan, but even I'm not ashamed to admit that I still have a hard time keeping track of it all. So imagine the average American sports fan for a minute. It's taxing enough trying to keep up with the NFL, NBA, and MLB, throw in hockey and college sports, soccer. Can you blame them for not knowing about a WBO junior bantamweight title fight? Absolutely not, because it's mouthful as it is, and I have a hard enough time keeping up with it. And because of that, here in America, it's why it's easier for casual fans to keep up with the UFC, which all takes place on ESPN with one champion and a pretty defined list ranking the contenders. Now, this isn't to turn it into a boxing versus MMA thing, because there's no need to do that. There's enough room at the table for both sports to thrive. They both have plenty of superstars. The fights just gotta happen. Boxing has a history that MMA can't touch, but it just needs to clean itself up. And thankfully, during a global pandemic where plenty of people, they're burning through their savings, we have an example of boxing cleaning itself up with a treat on free television. Vasiliy Lomachenko versus Teofimo Lopez, October 17th on ESPN.
What's up? It's Lamar Odom.
What's up? It's Lamar Rose Jr.
What's up? This is Ryan Garcia here.
White Mama here with my boy Jake, and you're watching the As Gould Show.
The As Gould Show.
As Gould Show.
And it is good as Gould. One love.